So what are the essential 7? You see, when Life's Simple 7, as Professor Akhtar Bandasha said last night, that it was introduced in 2010. The 10-year goal was a 20% reduction in cardiovascular disease and stroke. And the secondary goal was 20% improvement in cardiovascular health. And we had all these 7 factors here. These were the Life Simple 7 factors which we have been hearing since morning. 4 are modifiable and 3 are biometric. We've talked about tobacco. It is modifiable. It's the leading cause of preventable death in the world, and it causes 1/3 of all the cardiovascular deaths. In Pakistan, we are having an increased incidence of smoking, despite the fact that Pakistan Cardiac Society, Pakistan Hypertension League, and PANA is making an effort to reduce the incidence of smoking, but unfortunately it is increasing even in the teens and youngsters. So we need to actually find all kinds of tobacco, inhaled tobacco products, traditional cigarettes, e-cigarettes, vaping. They are all very harmful and should be avoided. Then even things like naswar, gutka, or shisha, they are very injurious for health and should be discouraged both in ourselves and in our patients. How can we quit smoking? Need to educate ourselves. Actually, if you give up smoking for 1 year, the incidence is reduced by about 1/3. And then you need to make a plan to quit, that this is the date when I will stop smoking, and this is how I will do it. Meaning thereby that whether I will stop it immediately or gradually, but that is how you have to proceed. So I think the tips for success are: deal with the urges, you have to deal with them, get active, handle stress, get some moral support from people, and then stick to what you have decided. That is extremely important. Next important factor is that you need to eat better. It is also modifiable. You need to have more fruits and vegetables. Limit the sugary drinks and alcohol. Bilal talked about it, and he mentioned the sugary drinks. They're very harmful. These fizzy drinks should be completely avoided. But unfortunately, you have big signboards showing cricketers like Babar Azam and others holding on to Coca-Cola. How can you stop people from drinking them? But I think an effort must be made to create an awareness. They're very harmful. Then you need to avoid processed foods. You need to be on a plant-based diet. That is extremely important. You need to watch the calories. And it is very important, eat at home. Don't go out and take your food in hotels. Then how to eat better is that you create a healthy eating pattern. You enjoy fresh fruits, vegetables, and fish, and you limit the drinks that you are taking with it. I always advocate that it is best to drink water about half an hour before your food or about half an hour later. Don't take it in between, and don't take it immediately after your food, because that is not good for your health. It is injurious. And always read the nutrition labels. This is extremely important, because then you would know what you are actually consuming. Move more. It's so important. I saw one of our great psychiatrists, Muaddat Rana, in the morning. He was walking in the garden. He was the solitary figure. All of us here are cardiologists, and he's a psychiatrist. We need to walk more. We need to weight train. Add time and distance. Gradually increase the distance, increase the time, so that your conditioning becomes better as far as your body is concerned. Make it a habit. and mother, partner up. You should have somebody with you that will also help you in creating this habit and prolonging. How to be more active? Move more. 150 hours every week of a regular walk, a moderate exercise, or you can have a high intensity exercise of 75 minutes per week, like for example swimming, or you can combine both of them. Then be strong, add intensity, and then sit less, walk more. That will help you. For example, like Harun Babar was saying, that if you are sitting for quite some time, get up and start walking for a little while. Then you start your work again. Very important. And I think the most important thing, and I'll talk about it at the end, is the kids and the teens, they need to be trained in it. This is extremely important. Manage weight. Dr. Asif talked about obesity. Monitor the calories which come in and monitor the calories which go out. Calculate your BMI. I should know my weight. I should know my waist circumference. I should know my body mass index, my blood sugar, my blood pressure, and based on height and weight, and increase my activity, move as much as I can. This is how I can manage my weight. You reduce the calories which you are consuming and increase them, burn them more, and that will help you to maintain your, and the weight which is best for you is the weight which you had at the age of 24. Keep that weight and you'll be healthy. Make the same emphasis for your patients as well. This is how you can calculate the body mass index. Bilal talked about cholesterol. This is the gentleman, the Japanese, who actually, Endo Akira, who found lovastatin, the first statin to be used from mushroom, fat that is eaten or made. It is actually modifiable. You need to see the total cholesterol, triglycerides, HDL, LDL, and then you manage them accordingly. How you can control it, you've heard about it from Bilal. Monitor your glucose. Amir Hamid will talk about it. Glucose from foods that are eaten. Know the glycemic index of what you are consuming. It is extremely important. Assessment of levels, then less than 100 milligram of blood sugar is the most appropriate one. As you go beyond it, you become pre-diabetic, and beyond 126 is where risks are the greatest, and you have to control that. That is how you will be able to manage your blood sugar. Track your blood pressure. You have heard about it. So we have these 7 metrics. And this is showing to you ideally what you should be having in these 7 cases. And in the first column shows to you the poor ones were current smoking, BMI which is more than 30, physical activity none, etc. Then we have an individual responsibility. And we also need to develop public health policies, which are very important. And that is how we can make a dent in it. Even for blood pressure control, for cholesterol control, for activity, it has to be public health policies. Good sleep is very essential. And it's 7 to 9 hours are recommended for adults. And this is actually the 8th essential. From life 7, we came into life 8. So this is to summarize what we should be doing. This is the life's essential 8. Now this is the figure which is extremely important. When we look at this, we see that the psychosocial health here, the negative aspects are written down: anxiety, anger, hostility, pessimism, depression. And if you have a positive attitude, this is the most important thing. The mind, the body, and the heart, they interact with each other. Then you have all these factors here, which are the structures and systems, the community resources, institutions and organizations, interpersonal, social and community networks, individual genetic and behavioral factors. And there's a continuous interplay between the brain, the mind, the heart, and the body. This is, I think, extremely important for those of us who advocate preventive cardiology. We need to start it from prenatal and postpartum visits. This is from where we have to start. This is primordial prevention. That's what you have to do. Then family engaging preschool programs. This is extremely important. As you get into adolescence, and then when they are planning parenthood, all these stages in life are how you can modify it, and this should be given priority in our lives. So I think the critical time window is here where you can make a dent into it, and that is how you'll be able to solve the problem. This is one of the quotations which I've made. You see, it's your gene that loads the gun, but it is your environment that pulls the trigger. That is what it is. Genetic constitution and the environmental milieu makes it. Let's, in passing, just talk about a little about the environmental hazards. You heard Shoaib talk about it, but when we have a heart attack, there's traffic noise, air pollution, extremely important, light pollution, bad urban city, more of concrete around. That is also not good for you. Then the climate change, high temperature, extreme weather, whether it is cold or heat, both the extremes are bad for health. Then soil and water pollution, 2 million excess deaths because of water pollution, 500,000 excess deaths because of soil pollution. These are the factors that you need to keep in mind. Association between extreme temperature and cardiovascular cases cause, you see, both extremes of weather of cold and heat, they're bad for cardiac health. One day a man will have to fight the noise as fiercely as cholera and plague. And this was stated by this gentleman in 1912 who got a Nobel Prize in 1905. Noise is bad. This is New York in 1910. And this is Lahore now. This is the noise which is creating problems for the health of the cardiac patients. This is a T20 match which created the worst traffic jam in Lahore. This is again not good for health. Basically, noise exposure actually results in cardiovascular diseases. I don't have time to go through it, but it affects the system as such, where it is the hypothalamus, it is the pituitary, and the adrenocortical axis which is affected, and that results in cardiovascular diseases. Aircraft noise is most annoying. Just give me a minute. I'll just quickly go through it. Annoyance and arrhythmia. You see, if you start ringing the bell, I get PVCs. And when you have PVCs, you start getting annoyed, and this creates depression and anxiety in the general population. It results in cerebral disease. Also, the residential exposure can lead to Alzheimer's, to dementia, so we have to be cognizant of that. Aircraft noise, it affects the endothelium, causes endothelial dysfunction. If you take vitamin C, it helps you. Once again, just the mechanism which affects the endothelium, and I'll come to the last one. If you look at the amygdala activity which correlates with vascular inflammation, if there's high noise, this is what happens, and you have inflammation in the ascending aorta and the aortic valve with high noise. So there's an acknowledgement that noise is significant as a cardiovascular risk factor. Smog is very bad. This is Lahore, the most polluted city, Pakistan, third among countries. This is the survey here. And that is causing the diseases there. It is worse than smoking. The World Health Organization says that this is the number of cases who are dying because of air pollution. If you look at this maps here, air pollution results in a 2.9-year reduction in your lifespan. Terrorism also reduces your lifespan. So these are the effects that come on the health of individuals and cause problems. Does the air pollution destabilize plaques? Yes, it does, and you can see this happening here. In the last, I'll come to the slide where previously I said, remember genetics, it is the gene that loads the gun, but it is your environment that pulls the trigger. And I want to leave you with this message. Thank you very much.